and so he turned to Africa. Recently, a man named Henry Morton Stanley had been there. He was a journalist, and he'd found, or at least he claimed he'd found, Livingston. Livingston was Europe's hero at the time. He really was a fairly decent guy. He was a missionary, but he treated Africans with respect. But for several years, he'd been lost in the forest. Nobody knew where he was. And Henry Morton Stanley went and found him, resupplied him, and wrote some articles on it. And so this guy, Henry Morton Stanley, who'd been born in an orphanage in England, became famous. So famous, indeed, that King Leopold commissioned him to explore the Congo and sign over his tribe to his cause. That what he was trying to do is get the chiefs to sign over their land to Belgium. Well, there's a bit of a race going on. There are actually two races. We call it the Scramble for Africa. There was the physical race, which at that time was occurring between Henry Morton Stanley and a guy named Brazza. Funny guy. He was Italian, but he was actually exploring for the French. They had very different tactics of exploring. They were both exploring the Congo, trying to get territory for their respective countries. The Brazza was a fairly decent guy himself. He did peace talks and trading. Stanley had a different idea, though. He was a big believer in the power of the Maxim gun, the most modern machine gun. He is gleeful at the highway entries, but his shootings, massacres of a whole village that stand in his way. Henry Morton Stanley ended up being sort of the victor in this race. He signed over much more land in the Congo to King Leopold than Brazza got. Well, Brazza got became known as the French Congo, today known as the Republic of the Congo. The land that Stanley explored and that he got signed over to the King of Belgium became known as the Democratic Republic of the Congo. There also was the less physical race going on, but there was the race between the different powers to divide up the land, called the Scramble for Africa, headed at the Berlin Conference.
Laura, how can we help today?
I'm sitting here.
Okay.
In the 1890s, King Leopold had had a real victor in this race. The English had gotten a lot of land, the Germans had got a lot of land. The French were kind of losers. They didn't get much, except for the deserts of Africa. King Leopold, though, he was having trouble. He was really, really having trouble. He was losing money. This guy was pretty rich. He was losing money. But then, victory. Rubber in the international market became so much more valuable after the invention of the rubber bicycle tire. The Congo really had rubber. Forced labor. And they got the rubber. That's when they started cutting off hands, just like the red marks on our arms. Fast forward to now. The people in the Congo are still suffering. There are three armies fighting in the Congo, sometimes together, sometimes against each other. The army of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the army of Rwanda, and the Hutus who fled Rwanda after the genocide in 1994, afraid of retribution killing. None of them really want peace. Why? Because of cobalt. You may not know what it is, but it's in everything you use. Your iPod, your computer, your cell phone. The Congo is rich with cobalt, and all three armies are extracting cobalt from the Congo. The conflict there for them is beneficial, because they're being enriched by everything that's in your cell phone. How can you help? I don't have all the answers, but maybe it's time to think. My cell phone works fine. Why do I need the new iPhone? My iPod works fine. Why do I need the newest version? That's my best suggestion for how to help. Because we have to remember, when we walk by, when we learn about somebody's hunger, as Ali Wiesel says, whether it's literal or for justice, when we walk by and we don't care, or worse, we forget, we're guilty, we're immoral. So remember, There's a girl raped today, 4, 5, 6, 7, just like your sisters, your nieces, your cousins, the little girl at your church. And her attackers, they were enriched by what's in your cell phone.